Good afternoon. Everybody hear me pretty good? Cool. Excellent. Big, probably one of the most important workshops that you're going to hear me talk about this entire year is this one, so I'm excited that you guys are all here for this. We talk about the immune system, and when we talk about it, like last time we did hormones. The immune system is not really as sexy sounding as hormones, right? So everybody's on to hormones, but I want to tell you this thing is so important for not just you, but also for your children. Right now, I can't stress how much. So parents, just kids under 18 that live with you, just raise your hands just so we know. Just raise your hands high. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. This one is really because I have 2 children right now, and it's something that we're doing with our own children, and it's just something that is going to really help in answering a lot of these really tough questions on how to get their immune systems very strong and things you can do to build up their immune system from the inside out. The reality is this, and this is a scary one. Right now, our country has the sickest children on the planet. I don't know if you know that or not, by far. Things that we see now in our country and that I see in my office, it's very different than it was just 9 years ago when we first started practicing here in Fort Worth. I see children now with vaccine reactions, vaccine damage. I see kids that are autistic, a lot of autistic children in my office, children that have just neurological disorders, malnutrition, obesity, you name it, very weak immune systems. And it's something that is not getting better, it's getting worse. And it's something that we want to really stop. So I really empower you guys once you hear this. And if you're a guest, so if this is your first time to hear me, I'm not going to call on you, but just raise your hand for me. Okay. Some of this is very different. And I kind of have a disclaimer a little bit with you. It's Dr. Wall's disclaimer. This is going to be almost a complete opposite of what you told a lot about the immune system growing up. Just be open to that. And the reason I say it is because this might upset some of you, and I mean that in a loving way. Does that make sense? Like, I don't ever mean to upset anybody, but this just gets you mad at the situation. But also knowing that there's things you can do, this is really going to empower you to really help other people. And that's just so awesome about why we do these workshops, is helping you help family and friends that don't even know about this stuff. That's huge. So, a couple things. We talk about the immune system. Who wants a stronger immune system? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Who wants an immune system that's like the Terminator, right? And so I'm a big movie buff. I love movies. Don't watch as many with 2 little kids, especially not Terminator movies like I used to. Can't roll that one on with a 3-year-old. But I love all sorts of movies, but I love Terminator. It's just and if you've never seen the Terminator, you have homework. Go rent the Terminator. You might be living under a rock for the last 20 years. You haven't seen that movie. But it's that, you have 2 main characters, and then Schwarzenegger's the bad guy, and basically he's a robot, under, human-looking skin, and he's just relentless. He wants to kill one of the main characters, won't stop at nothing, and you can't really stop him. You can shoot him, you can blow him up, you can hit him with a flamethrower. It doesn't stop him, it just keeps coming. And so the whole movie is like, how do we stop this guy's relentless? I want my immune system to be like the Terminator. I want it to, when a virus comes in my body, they're like, what the heck did we just come into contact with? This is the worst mistake I made, getting into Aaron Wall's body. That's what we want with your immune system. And the reality is you can get it there. You can get it there. Your immune system does not need to be stimulated from the outside in. This is bad, not just a philosophy, but it's really bad junk science, thinking that you can't get healthy without drugs or shots. And that's something that we're going to change your thought process on, but at the same time show you ways you can do it. But we want to be like the Terminator. The problem is we have an immune system like My Little Pony, right? Like so you guys know what My Little Pony is? Did I just go over everybody's head with that? Okay. You have kids should know what My Little Pony is. So meaning a virus comes into your body and it looks at your immune system like My Little Pony. It's like, I'm just going to run over you every day. So what causes us to have weakened immune systems over time? It's not a one-time thing. It's a overtime chronic problem that gets us into trouble. So how do we do this? Well, we have something called 5 essentials that's what we want to talk about, and that's what we want to show you to do right. This is how to do the 5 essentials wrong. I've never really shown a slide on how to do them wrong, so get ready. This is how you do everything wrong, and over time, this accumulation, it encompasses a very weak immune system. So the first one, obviously, is being stressed out. How many people are stressed? You don't have to raise your hand, but I know a lot of you are. It's it's funny. Like, we were at the Gaylord this weekend, and my 2 little ones, first time hotel room together, didn't sleep at all, fought and screamed. They just weren't used to a hotel room, so my wife and me didn't sleep at all that night, and so needless to say, we were very stressed that night. But you got to understand, if you watch TV, if you go to your checkups, if you go and take kids to your pediatrician, this is put into you every time you're in there. It's really sad, but it's how it's geared towards. It's this fear-mongering thing. They're very good at scaring you into thinking that you can't get healthy without a drug, or you can't get healthy without a shot. You can't get healthy unless you make your pediatrician baby visit checkups. You can't be healthy, right? Like that's just, you can't be healthy without that. I'm sorry, that's not true. But we buy into this a lot. We buy allopathic model. What we want to talk about is how to get out of this thinking, because there's a lot of you that, that's where you're at. You're in that I take my tests. When I have something show up on a test that's wrong, I do everything my medical doctor or my doctor tells me to do. And you know what? That can be fine and great in one way, but at the same time, not building your health and just waiting till something blows up to get healthy is the wrong approach, and that gets a lot of good people into taking tons of drugs, and they're not getting better. Do you guys get that? Like, the more drugs you take, the healthier you are not. And so we want to get out of that mindset. We want to get into vitalistic, building your health from the inside out, being able to get off your meds, not get on more, and there's ways you can do that. That's the good news, right? What else can we do to mess up our immune system? Well, we can eat bad. Super Size Me, everybody watch that one? So the guy tried to do McDonald's every meal for a month, and he couldn't do it for a month because he almost died. He literally almost had a heart attack and was just awful. After I think that maybe 3 weeks into it, you can't put bad stuff in your body and expect to heal well or work well, and especially have an immune system that works well. We're going to talk about this. We'll talk about deficiencies as well. That's a real big thing. Soil is not like it was. We get deficient. We have garbage in, garbage out. You got to have oxygen into your cells. That is a big, not just with the immune system, but actually a cancer-killing therapy that's very effective. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Otto Warburg, back in the 30s, got the Nobel Prize for discovering that oxygen, if you pump a cancer cell full of oxygen, guess what happens to it? It actually kills it, right? But stuff that we're just not told about. Toxicity, and this is accumulation, meds, vaccines, environmental, subluxation, nerve damage. We talk about the immune system. Your immune system is really the neuroimmune system. It cannot work without nerves telling your immune system how to work. Make sense? There's one way all your body works, organs. So if you're a guest, if you ever wondered, like, how does your heart still beat while you're asleep, or how do you still breathe oxygen while you're asleep? Like, you don't have control over that. It's automatically run through your brain, down your cord, out through nerves to every organ in your body. But there's specific ones to deal with the immune system. We will hit that. Number 1. So how do we start changing things and righting the ship? Here's a real simple thing. Rest more. How cool is that? You can rest more. This actually has a huge effect on your immune system, because when you're asleep, that's when your immune system recharges. That's when a lot of organs, they de-stress, they can recharge. You build healthier cells at night while you're sleeping. There's so much that happens while you sleep. The problem is we don't what? We don't sleep very good. And so what is sleeping? We did a workshop almost a year ago on how to sleep the right way. There's so much to it. But to kind of the cliff notes, real easy stuff, make sure you're in cave-like darkness. If you have TVs in your room, you should take the TV out of your room. I know that's a tough one. But cave-like darkness. Yeah, nobody laughed at that. So cave-like darkness. The other big thing with the immune system and sleeping is all the studies out there that show 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. If you can average that, that is going to be an amazing benefit to your immune system and hormones. Really big. But what's also really big with that is you want to make sure you have some type of a pattern. You don't go to bed at 8 p.m., then the next night, 11 p.m. You don't want to do that. You want to be around, 30 minutes or so, give or take, when you go to sleep and when you wake up. Be regimented on that. That's, again, especially with kids, really important to have them regimented on when they go to bed, when they wake up. That's better for their overall health and resting and immune system. Really big stuff, right? Okay, something really big that we talk about in as a chiropractor is something that holds true not just for chiropractic, but for how our bodies are made. I think you get a lot out of this. This is your body has something called innate intelligence in it, and this is where the philosophies really clash between medicine, the allopathic, and vitalistic. See, allopathic, that type of thought, that philosophy is that if you have a fever, that's a bad thing. If you have diarrhea, that's a bad thing. If you're throwing up, that's a bad thing. If you're running temperature, right, it's a bad thing. You can't run temperature, right? If you are sick, you need something to alleviate the symptoms. That's the allopathic model, right? So many of us, I grew up in that model, and let me tell you something, for 20 years, I did all that. I took tons of drugs. I had severe asthma. I lived on breathing machines. I lived on inhalers. I lived on allergy meds. That's all I had. I had weekly allergy shots for 5 straight stinking years. I hate needles. Hate them. 5 years, though, of weekly allergy shots. And through the mass of all that time, when I was 22 years old, guess what I still had? Still had asthma, still just as bad as it was. Nothing got better. Very frustrating. My parents didn't know. They thought they were doing the best thing for me. They weren't informed. That nobody told them that wasn't really getting me well. It's just treating symptoms all my life, right? Very frustrating. You need to understand the vitalistic. This is the philosophy about what we do, is your body has something called innate intelligence. And this isn't just a chiropractic thing. All doctors recognize this. They do. How do they recognize this? Because when you were just 2 cells, right? When you were first conceived, guess what your body did for 9 straight months? Built you. Organized your organs. Where does everything go? How does your body run? That is a God-given innate intelligence. That's the same power that's in you that created the mountains and the oceans. It's that power. You have no control over that. Doctors don't do anything to mess with that. Why? Because they know that's automatically getting done. There's a design to your body. So that power, that's innate intelligence. All doctors recognize this. The problem, though, is as soon as you're born, doctors say, okay, yeah, you did all the hard work. We're going to build on this. We're going to make you better, right? We're going to start shooting you up right when you get out because you're not perfect yet, right? You see what I'm saying? So that's, and if I come off, I do get upset when I talk about this. I apologize in advance. I love you. I'm not getting on to anybody. I'm just, from experience, I get very passionate about this. So that happened. But that innate intelligence, that you need to understand something. The body is always trying to heal you. It's not going to do stuff to weaken you. It's not going to do stuff to kill you. It's not trying to harm you. So things like fever is a good thing. Thank God you have a fever to kill off stuff. We're going to talk about this. Thank goodness you vomit to get stuff out of your body so you don't die, right? Thank goodness you go to the bathroom to get toxins out of your body. These things are good. They're not fun sometimes when you go through them. I'm not talking about fun. I'm talking about saving you, keeping you healthy. You need your body to do these things. That's a different way to look at it, and we'll kind of get into this. But just know, like a living thing intelligence, the universe, and born within it, that's innate intelligence. Not just recognized by this is not just something Dr. Wall came up with. This is, everybody recognizes this. Everybody knows. They know. You cut your arm. Guess what you have to do? You do nothing to it. What's going to happen to that cut? It is going to heal over time. Why? Because that is automatically, that intelligence with you is organizing, histamine, fibrinogen, all that stuff to repair that up and heal it up. Now, if you have a dead person, right? All the same body parts, all the same things on that dead person, and you slice that dead person's arm, what's going to happen? It stays open. It doesn't heal up because that power has left that person. Soul, innate intelligence. It's all the same thing, right? We start talking about improving things. So when I talk about vaccines, again, disclaimer, big disclaimer here. Okay, so number 1, I love you. Okay. Number 2, it's funny because I usually get some hate mail every now and then on this one. And just know, when we come to this, a very, very sensitive subject, very touchy, very controversial. So I say this with a loving thing. Number 1, if you came to this workshop thinking I'm going to be promoting doing vaccines, you're at the wrong workshop. You can leave. It's okay. I love you, just like I said. But if you're here to kind of open your mind and see what things really are, there's something that you'll find out, and I say this with you with love, is there's something called history, and there's something called science, and there's something called tradition. They always don't coincide with each other. So we're going to talk about things like history and science and what that really means, and then what tradition means. So what do I mean by that? So tradition is, number one, like for one instance, it's giving cholesterol-lowering medication to somebody because they want to prevent them from having a heart attack. That's what tradition tells doctors to do. But all the science says what? All the research says that is pointless, it's ineffective, it doesn't work, it does more harm than good. You should never do that to somebody. Yet what keeps happening? People keep the most prescribed medication on the planet, so it keeps happening. That's tradition. That doesn't get you well. That's a problem, right? Also science. Here's what science says about ear infections. You bring your child to the pediatrician and they have an ear infection. They're getting what? 9 times out of 10. Antibiotics for ear infections. Well, the science shows that does nothing for virus infections, because ear infections are viral, not bacterial. You use antibiotics for bacteria infection, not for viral. But you go in there, and doctors know this, but yet they will still give you what for the ear infection? Antibiotics. So understand, there's history and tradition that's very hard to break for a lot of doctors, or they don't want to break it. But the science shows different stuff. That's where we want to kind of start. And I have this thing, like, how do I want to relay this message to you? So I want to start kind of from the basics things with this and kind of work into vaccines, because there's a lot of different points on this that'll really shed some light on this whole debate on why so many people, and not just so many doctors, even a lot of medical doctors, why they're saying, you know what, we should reassess this. We need to do something different for the health of our kids. There's a reason. So number one is we go by this. This is all medical research I'm giving you. This is from big medical journals. So many of the experts disagree that vaccines help wipe out most childhood diseases. That is a hard one to hear, because things like diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, measles, rubella, and polio, they were already on the decline before the availability of vaccines. Now that is, if you look at the history and you look at decline rates and death rates of these diseases, when did they start going down? Well, vaccines are relatively new, only in the last 70 years being used on populations. But at the turn of the century, this is something that people don't know. The death rates like smallpox and diphtheria and all this, polio, these diseases were already rapidly declining at the turn of 1900, turn of the century. Why was that happening? Something else was going on to rid us of these diseases that are basically fecal, oral, transmitted through water, through sewage. So what happened? We started having clean water and effective sewer systems being put in. Not me talking, this is the Lancet. Does anybody know that is one of the top medical journals in the world right there? But this is from 1977, so this is an old one. But the largest historical decrease in deaths caused by infectious disease was not from the antibiotic and vaccine era, but from the introduction of clean and sanitized water. So what happened? We cleaned up the water. People weren't living together in slums, and like in the cities were really bad with this stuff, because you had multiple families in one house, no plumbing. Can you imagine living in that condition? Just filth. But why were so many people getting sick? Because they were doing that. That's how people lived back then. You walk down the street, you're walking next to, junk. And this is a real big thing too, because polio gets the biggest thing. And again, obviously, if you were alive in the 50s and you kind of, you started getting the vaccine with polio, this is something that's really big. You talk to people back then, and you do the historical search on deaths from polio. Just cases, because I don't know if you know this or not, with polio, 90% of polio, you don't have to do anything. You're going to get well on your own. I don't know if you know that or not. You do. And most people with polio in the beginning don't even show the symptoms. They have a natural immunity to it. They beat it. When it gets to paralytic polio, this is what people recognize from all the pictures in history books, people in iron lungs. I know you've seen those pictures. That was literally, even 90% of the people that had to do the iron lung still did what? Recovered. They did. They had paralysis. Sometimes the lungs are really dangerous. But those cases, there was 37 cases per 100,000 people back in the 50s that got that. And even 90% of those people would recover fully. The paralysis would reverse. Very few. And it was still sad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not sad. Very sad. But we're thought to believe that they were just bodies on the streets, just people lined up, and everybody's suffering from this. It's like the Black Plague. It wasn't. You look at something like muscular dystrophy, which is very rare condition. Back in the 50s, had twice as much. It was about 70 per 100,000 people got muscular dystrophy. So you guys see like the difference here. It's a big deal. So understanding polio is oral fecal, so you really get it from transmitting it through somehow it gets into your eyes, your mouth. They actually, if you know this or not, they used to start off with the dead virus that was given to people in sugar cubes. That's the Salk vaccine. And there was a lot of reactions to that vaccine because they didn't really test it. They just mass produced it and started getting into people real quick. Talk about the science on that. That's kind of scary. But what happened was the live vaccine came out a few years later. And so people started taking the live weakened virus instead of the sugar cube. And so what you started having over the next 20 years, people were taking the live virus, and you started seeing an increase in cases polio in a lot of areas. Why? Because the weakened virus was live, and they would get polio from the vaccine. As a matter of fact, Salk, who developed the dead one, testified in Supreme Court against the guy that created the live one, and he said the only cases, that was the only people getting polio in the United States were people that were getting it from the vaccine. So that's why they switched from the live one back down to the weakened one, or the dead one. They're just saying, like, the history, you don't hear about the history. You hear about, you got to take this, and that. So that's the history. And again, look this stuff up. I really implore you. I have some good resources I'll share in a minute. But now we start talking about, well, what's actually in these? When was the last time with your child you read what was in the thing that they're injecting into your child's bloodstream? You don't see them. That's scary. And so the other big problem is when have you ever had informed consent on a vaccine? You don't. Did you know that in 1986, the Supreme Court declared something called VAERS cord, vaccine adverse reaction? See, back in the day before 86, when somebody had a bad reaction or died from getting a vaccine, they would sue the vaccine company. They would get a big substantial claim. As of 1986, you cannot sue a vaccine company if you get damaged or if you die from having a vaccine. If your child gets very injured or sick, cannot sue a vaccine company. Not even close. They have total 100% immunity on you. That's scary, because if you take a drug and something happens to you, guess what you can do? You can sue. You can't do that with a vaccine. But yet they're made by what? Drug companies. They are a pharmaceutical. They are a drug. They are a drug. Understand that. They have drugs in them. So knowing that you can't sue, that's the one big problem. The other big problem is so you don't have informed consent. And the third big problem is your doctors really don't know what's in the shots either. If you do, ask them. You'll probably get a blank stare, like, I don't know what's in them. There's a lot of stuff in them that will blow your mind. Blow your mind. And again, you just got to look. Just for example, this is a sample of things, but obviously you have things that keep the like preservatives, ammonium sulfate, formaldehyde. You have things called adjuvants. The whole theory behind a vaccine is to stimulate your white blood cells. So they got to put stuff in there that's going to fire something in your brain called microglia cells. That's your brain immune cells. When these things, they're pretty much dormant until you have an infection, then they activate and your body goes into killing whatever it is mode, makes antibodies. When you take one of these in, it'll stimulate that sometimes 1 to 2 years. So it's very inflammation. And so you see a lot of the reactions to kids, they get a lot of encephalitis. Their brain swells, they have brain inflammation. That's why, because it fires that part of the brain. Not every child can handle that. So you have these things, aluminum, mercury, those are the most known adjuvants. Aluminum is in almost every vaccine. Mercury they've taken out of a lot, but it's still in a lot of the flu ones. It's still in some, but you just got to watch it. The other big thing is how do they grow these viruses? They got to grow them on something called a growth medium. And so like a Petri dish, you got to put something in to grow. So they use cells, not just cells from animals. They'll use, monkey kidney tissue, chicken embryos. I'm not kidding. They grow the stuff on it. But something that's really scary is they use human cells on not all, but a lot of vaccines. The Hep B one is also is the first one kids get from being born because they have a sexually transmitted disease. You should give them that right when they're being born. It's nuts when you think about it, right? So these get that like the HPV vaccine. I mean, come on, really? But the reality is this. Look, this stuff. A lot of these human cells. Guess where these human cells come from? No, they don't come from sick people.
Aborted babies.
Yeah. They come from that. So on a philosophical or religious standpoint, if whatever your choice is on that issue, you need to know. I mean, it's big stuff. I know it sounds conspiracy theory. Look, I of all people, you guys know I'm a pretty skeptical guy, very skeptical on stuff like this. But when you dig through enough and you look through it, it just adds up. It is on point, and there's so many resources you can look for on this stuff. I have a couple good books I'm going to show you in a minute, but how you can find it, tons of thousands of research studies. But that's what's in them, of all things, right? The flu vaccine given to kids, the most common one is Fluzone. It's the one you stick up. It's trivalent, means 3 viral strands grown on chicken eggs. So harvested with formaldehyde, each dose contains 25 micrograms of mercury. Now that's a big deal because, again, when you take, just so you know, the EPA, the EPA will tell you, if you actually broke an old school thermometer that had mercury in it, and you dropped it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and they would tell you that entire pool is what? Completely contaminated. Just you cannot swim in there. It'll affect you, right? But yet there's 25 micrograms in one shot that goes into your bloodstream. This is from Mayo Clinic. This is a study done on 263 kids, 6 months to 18 years, because they start doing flu shots at 6 months old. No research shows that there's a benefit to that, but they do it. Children who got the flu vaccine had 3 times the risk of hospitalization for the flu. So when you hear on the news, and this is again, who I know it's crazy, but who funds the news? Drug companies have big plays into that. That's why they have every especially now back to school, you gotta get the flu shot. You gotta get these shots. You gotta get the flu. Even though the CDC for this flu shot completely doesn't work. But yet they're like, okay, you still gotta get this one. Let's get this other one. You gotta get this other flu shot. They want you to get 2 now. Right? It's nuts. And so you add this stuff up. The problem is number one, you're putting a weakened virus in your body that would never come into your body straight through your bloodstream. It's got to go through 7 layers of your own immune system, and it would probably get knocked out before it even got to your bloodstream. But it goes in there in a shot, and your body starts reacting to it. And guess what people get? They get the flu. They get it. I attest to this because I had almost everything I got. Measles, mumps, rubella, German measles, chicken pox, all this stuff you get vaccinated for, I would always get, after, except for a couple, and you're wondering, like, why does that happen? It's because my immune system was already weak, and then I'm getting stuff put right into my bloodstream. Of course, I'm going to probably come down with the same thing, but doctors say, well, it doesn't cause the flu. Yes, it does. It's been shown, proven. It shows it causes it. They know it. Long-term consequences of flu shots, immune damage. This is a big one. Researchers discovered that repeated vaccination at a young age increases risk of flu at older ages. It's probably due to you're weakening the immune system. You're not getting it stronger. However, getting something as simple as the flu naturally appears to strengthen the immune system, and you build what's called a lifelong natural immunity to it. Why in the past, when your parents had measles parties or chicken pox parties, they would invite you over. They weren't bad parents. They knew what they were doing. Why do they know what they were doing? Because they knew, and just like I said, sometimes the simplest stuff is what works and makes sense. Because they knew, you know what? You're going to get it. It's okay. It's going to run its course. You're not going to feel good for maybe a week or so. But guess what? You don't have chicken pox ever again. You're going to have a lifelong immunity to it. You have a lifelong immunity to your measles. You have that. And you have such a better chance. It's almost impossible to be fatal as a child because you knock it out. But as you get older, it does. It is harder to get over. It is more serious. And we are just messing with fire, trying to never let go through this stuff, I think. Natural versus acquired immunity. Your immune system is like a muscle. It needs to be stimulated. You can't not stimulate it and then expect it to come into contact with something when you're an adult and fight it off normally. It needs to be strengthened. So that means you need to fight stuff off naturally. Your body can do it, right? This is a thing that you think guys like, well, I forgot about that vaccine thing, man, when you were born. So you know what? You need to get all these shots because you're not going to be able to live without that. Think about this too with germ theory. This is the stuff that always gets me. If you believe that germs are what makes you sick, you need to understand something. You wouldn't be alive if that's what did it, because you're covered in germs right now. Love you, but you are. I'm covered in germs. We have just millions of bugs on us at all times. You can't wash it off. It's still on you. So you have all this stuff that's on you. Seriously, I know I'm freaking you all out, and it makes you itch, but it's on us all. So if germs were making us sick, we would not even be alive to, if that theory was true, no one would be alive to prove that theory works. We'd all be dead, right? So how come somebody can be in a room with somebody else? One person's got, chicken pox, the other person does not. How come that person isn't getting sick right then? Well, somebody's immune system's stronger than the other. That's as simple as it can be, right? So that's big. It needs to be stimulated. Antibiotics. So we talk about antibiotics. So unless it's a bacterial infection, you don't need to do them, because over time it'll really weaken the immune system. Here's some studies, New England Journal of Medicine. Antibiotic therapy is not effective. We talked about ear infections, and get this, rates of recurrent ear infections are higher, 7 to 10 times higher in kids who've been treated with antibiotics than kids that have not. They get more ear infections. Oh man, that's opposite of what you want, right, as a parent, but you're not being told that. Another one, antibiotics in the bacteria in your gut. Look, your GI tract takes a massive hit when you take antibiotics, because antibiotics, imagine just dropping, like you have two armies. You have good bacteria in your gut that helps with your immune system. You have bad bacteria that's overtaken something, you get sick. Well, an antibiotic is like dropping a nuke down. Just blows everything up. It doesn't just kill the bad, it kills the good stuff. And so you do this, it can destroy the good bacteria flora, which messes up digestion and immune function. How many of you, don't have to raise your hand, but you took antibiotics for around like a week and it messed up your colon? Messed it up for a while. Why? Because that happened, right? Does a flu shot work? No, it's useless. No evidence that injecting kids, I'm sorry, but it's true. 6 to 20 months with flu vaccines is any more effective than doing nothing. That's what placebo means. You mean don't do anything. Does the same effect, right? Universal immunization in adults was not supported by the results of that review. That's a Kaiser. That's a huge review process, right? So each year, how do they do the flu vaccine? This is how they do it. New vaccine is developed. It contains 3 different viruses, 1 influenza B and then 2 influenza A. What they do is they look at the previous flu season in China and Australia, and they guess on which ones are going to get into America, and that's how. No, I'm not kidding. That's how they do it, and that's why it's not effective. It's not. I know it's. I'm not trying to be funny with this. That's how they do it. Targeting the elderly. Feels so bad for people that are 65 and older, because they're targeted. It used to be you never do this stuff before the age of 2 or after 65, because those are the 2 times when you have an immune system that is, in the beginning you're developing it, and in the end it's not as strong. So now we're told these new guidelines, now you get a lot of shots before you're 2, and you get a ton. They want to recommend a bunch after. Well, the stuff with this, look, there's no data reporting. They did a big study on the flu shot, for 20-year study on people 65 and older. It's like 40,000 people. And you had the rates of flu shots, because they're just going up 200% in 20 years. But then the death rates, nothing changed. It had no effect on that. Right? What it does have an effect on is an increase in Alzheimer's risk. Did you know that? Because of the aluminum and the mercury in the shots, there's an increased risk. As a matter of fact, Dr., I'm saying his name probably really wrong, Fudenberg, right? I think he's German, world's leading immunogenicist. Say that one 3 times fast. 850 peer-reviewed journal papers found on this guy. This guy has written a lot of stuff. If an individual has 5 or more consecutive flu shots, his chance of getting Alzheimer's is 10 times higher than if he had 1, 2, or no shots. Again, the toxicity. This stuff accumulates in not just in your body, in organs, but it can pass what's called the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain. Big stuff. Former chief vaccine control officer of the FDA, there's no evidence that flu vaccine has developed any thus far as effective preventing or mitigating any attack of influenza. The producers of these vaccines know they're worthless, but they go on selling them anyway. There's a lot of money in that. Check this out. Actually getting the flu and fighting it naturally can actually help your body prevent getting cancer in the long run. Pretty cool. I thought this was a neat study. Oh, and this is by the Journal of Cancer Research and Clinical Oncology. That's a big medical journal. Scientists discovered that those with a history of colds and flu that got over it, just naturally, had less breast, colon, rectal, stomach, and ovarian cancer. That's pretty huge. Another study, subjects who reported a history of colds, flu, and other diseases had a 30% reduction of risk of brain tumor. So natural health care providers traditionally warned against suppressing symptoms of cold and flu, stressing that's how your body heals, detoxifies, and cleanses. That's protective against your body from developing cancer. Again, immune system is a muscle. You got to stimulate it. So let your body express symptoms. This one's really hard for a lot of you to get. I get it with little kids, especially. You're like, oh my gosh, I got a fever. Look, understand why the body's doing it. The body's smarter than you and me put together. It's smarter than all of us. It knows what to do. So God made us amazing. Your body knows that bacteria is going to die at 102 degrees. So guess what it's going to try to do? Jack up your body temperature. So you kill bacteria. At 103 degrees, that's when viruses are killed. And that's also when your body makes something called interferon. That's big. Interferon is a cancer-killing part of the immune system that's made. And there's synthetic interferon that's about $1,000 a shot that a lot of doctors will give to, if they can afford it, the treatment, but your body makes it naturally at 103 degrees. So honor your symptoms. Symptoms are sometimes the cure. You got to let your body do its thing. Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. This is one of the professors there. Fevers fight virus and bacteria. Fever's over 104. Check this out. Fever's over 104. That would freak so many people out, right? 104, diseases are shortened by letting the fever run its course. Sniffles, sneezes, fever are good for you. They clear up the airways. Allergy-causing substances, coughing rids the body of bacteria and viruses. By the way, the lungs. If you take fever-reducing drugs and cough suppressants, that can add to pneumonia and a more serious respiratory infection. You can get what's called a relapse. I used to get a lot. I used to get relapses all the time with strep throat. I used to get that all the time. Well, what happened? I took tons of antibiotics, and then I was so weak, I would just catch it again. I would get it again. And so I would get things in pairs. It's not good. Just so you know, if you're taking pictures, I love that. But secondly, look, watch this again. It's just going to be on our Gateway Chiropractic Max Living page, Gateway Chiropractic Facebook page. Go like that tonight. This is going to be on there here in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, all edited. Watch it and then share it. Do me a favor. Share that with somebody that you really love and care about, that has kids or something. Share this with them. They need to see it. At any given time, everyone in this room and around this earth has between 100 to 10,000 cancer cells active in your body right now. So when somebody says they're cancer-free, that's not true. It's always going to be in your body. But your body, because again, cancer cells are cells that aren't dying. They're abnormally mutating. But your body is able to kill those very effectively if the immune system's strong. The problem is when your immune system gets weakened over time, it's still killing cancer cells, but it's not killing all of them. And as years go by, you start having multiplying of these cancer cells that your body can't kill. And that's how it overtakes the body. Never by one time. It takes time to build up. Think of it, has anybody seen the movie, just came out, like 13 Hours? Anybody seen that? Black Hawk Down, that's an older one. See that one? Okay. Think of your immune system like the Army Rangers and Delta Force in Black Hawk Down, right? So you got about 100 of those guys, but they're fighting 10,000 Somalians, right? So they're killing a bunch of them, but guess what? A lot of them ended up dying because they're just too many bad guys to stop. Think of that as your immune system. They're like Delta Force. Your immune system is like a Delta Force, sniper. It's just sniping people really good. But if there's too many bad guys, even as good as your immune system is, it can be overtaken. So just know, that's the one way. See, I'm trying to throw in these movie references for you. You guys should appreciate that. Okay? Keys to maintaining a tight immune system. Obviously, we want to be in the maximized living model. We want to start putting good stuff in. So let's start with these essentials. How do we get better? So number one is you want to be putting the right nutrition in your body. And that's big. And so understand this is actually from William Sears, MD. Very big on parenting magazines. 70% of disease is preventable through good food. You got to put good food in your body. That's huge. These days, there's just not much good food. You have to work to get good food in your body. It's not hard work, but you got to work a little bit at it. We have a big book called the Nutrition Book. Very easy. It's not a diet. It's just eating better, putting better food in your body. I always say start there. Let's start putting good food in. Start getting essential fats in your body, removing the sugar out of your body. Start putting in foods that are going to not have hormones and antibiotics and GMO type of ingredients in them. That's what this is going to show you how to do. And also how to prep your food. You're cooking it in healthier oils, healthy fat. That's going to help your body with a healthy immune system. You're feeding it what it needs. The problem is though, this is from the University of Texas. There's a big study done that 40, 50 years ago, what they found out, these agriculture, these studies about the soil, It's different now than it was 40, 50 years ago. As a matter of fact, the nutrients in the food today are not what they were 50 years ago. See, your parents got away with this. They could eat that food, and they got all the nutritional quality from the food. Nowadays, we can't do it. We're deficient not because of a lack of trying to eat better. The food is not as dense as it was years ago. So check this out. When comparing the content of 43 crops for 13 nutrients, the scientists at UT found that the average range from 6 to 38%. That was back in 2005. That was 11 years ago. It's gotten worse, okay? Supplements, they're not a recommendation. They're a requirement to give your body what it needs. Now, I'm not talking about supplementing to treat a disease. I'm talking about you're just not getting the stuff from even eating well. So still eat well. Don't not eat well because of this. Go, well, I can't get well. No, still eat well. Still do it. But you got to put certain things in your body. So what things can we put in our body to build up an immune system? There's some key things. So obviously something called, remember a couple, ACEs, which is vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and then selenium. Those are big. They're big antioxidants. They help kill off free radicals. They actually help clean out the cells of your body. Glutathione is your body's most powerful antioxidant. It really gets in there and detoxes your cells. And then obviously vitamin D. This will shock a lot of you on the immune system, but that one, to a lot of people, it blows them away on how huge D is, not just to your bones, to hormones, but essentially to actually protecting your body from like 13 forms of cancer if it's in the right zone. That's big. So we'll kind of get through these. The greens and stuff, when it comes to supplementing, right? So you're eating healthy, which is awesome, but to get the nutrient equivalent of 40, 50 years ago, you'd have to have, so just so you know, like if you had a pound of spinach 40 years ago, you'd have to have about 4 to 5 pounds of spinach now to get the same nutrients in that pound of spinach 50 years ago. So while nobody on this planet is going to do that every day, you just can't. And I get it. Even if you're doing well, you want to be putting stuff in that you're not necessarily getting in your body. I call it veggies. So that's why we have something called greens. And then again, these greens have things that typically I'm not going to eat wheatgrass. I'm not a wheatgrass eater. I've done it. I've taken the wheatgrass shots, and you have to like chase it with something like your alcohol. You have to chase it to make the taste go down. You do like a little lemon or juice or orange juice right after. So as fun as that is, it's got a lot of benefits to it. It does. But something that's a lot easier to do is to have it in a powdered form, and you can just mix it in your shake or something. Chlorella, which is a form of chlorophyll, you want that. You're not going to be eating a lot of chlorophyll, every day. You're just not, especially your kids. Or things like, shiitake mushrooms or organic reishi mushrooms. Different antioxidant berries. It's hard to get like 10, 12 servings of this stuff. So that's why we do greens. That's why I add that into my daily, supplementing. It's not to treat a disease. It's to get this stuff in my body so my body can work better. Does that make sense? Just you want to put that in your body. It's a good thing. Oh, what's really cool about the greens here is that the first thing is it's more live food. This is not a supplement. This is more food. This is food based, meaning it has active digestive enzymes in it. It has all the active, it has a lot of probiotics in it. It has all this cultured food. So your body it's more live food. It's not dead food, so to speak. Whey protein doesn't just build your muscles. Whey protein has effects on your body, if you know this or not, but it helps your DNA repair. It helps repair damaged DNA. You know how whey protein does that? It actually helps your body produce more glutathione in your body. It has an immune boosting component to that. When whey is in its concentrated form and it's not isolated, your body will absorb it better. But it costs a little more to make it concentrated. It doesn't cost as much to isolate it. It's a cheaper process. So just so you know. The other big thing too is when it's isolated, it doesn't have enzymes anymore. It doesn't have probiotic strains in it anymore. It doesn't have that. But when it's concentrated, it retains that. So your body is able to soak it up. It breaks. It helps digest your food a lot better. It's just, there's so many things to it. Plus, the other big thing too is you want to make sure your whey protein is coming from cows that aren't that are fed grass. I know it's the weirdest stuff, right? So simple. You think like cow eats what? They eat grass, but yet that's not how cows or what they do here in our country. They're fed grain, and they're fed a lot of grain to get them fat. But when you have, just like with anything, you have these fat, unhealthy cows, they have to give them antibiotics because they're always getting sick, or they're getting these like mastitis infections. They're giving them growth hormones to make more milk. You add that stuff, you have a very sick cow, and that's really a lot of commercial meat out there. That's that process. And so you put that into protein, because that's where whey comes from, is cows. That's what you're putting in your body. So you can do different things like the whey protein that at Walmart, or the whey protein at CVS or GNC. You'll see different price categories of whey, and you're like, well, why is that? Because it's the ingredients that are in it that either make it really good or really cheap. Does that make sense? So who wants really cheap nutrients in their body? No, I don't. I want stuff that's going to work. So you think about something like grass-fed meat. If you went to the grocery store and you had grass-fed steak and you had a grain-fed steak, which is going to cost more? Grass-fed, a lot more, because it's healthier and it's got a lot more healthy fat in it. It's leaner. It's got all these different benefits to it. So if you're taking a protein that has grass-fed, you're going to know it's going to be a little bit more, because that is a healthier version of the whey. So that's just why I want to give you kind of a little crash course in manufacturing and nutrition. That's one of the reasons we have grass-fed whey protein, because that stuff is sourced. It's pure. It's the best. You want to be putting that, obviously, in your body or your child's body. You can mix this with the greens. I put them together, a little almond milk, a little bit of berries. Man, day is good. That's a good way to start the day for breakfast. Vitamin D, this is so big when it comes to your immune system, because, and this just came out, I have a patient, her mom works for the American Cancer Association, or Cancer Society, and American Cancer Society, sorry, mine got off track, but they just had, the American Cancer Society just came out with research on vitamin D. You're like, where's this been for like 40 years? But they just kind of came out saying, oh no, your D, it's so vital to your immune system, and you got to be at a certain level of vitamin D, and it can protect you from like 13 forms of cancer. We've been screaming this for 9 years, like you got to get your D levels up, and not just to what the test says, which the range is 30 to 100. You need way more than that in your blood. You need a blood level between 70 and 100 to have it effectively boost your immune system. That's not me. That's the late Dr. Meyer Eisenstein and the Vitamin D Council. That's what they showed had the best effect on this. But you're talking about not just your immune system, but actually killing cancer very effectively in your body. You want it to be high. So it strengthens your immune system, vitamin D does. It enhances your digestive system. 5 million CFUs of probiotics. That's something too, because you want to soak up the D, right? Your probiotics, that you want that to soak it up in your intestinal tract. That's where the D is soaked up. Your probiotics make vitamin K, which also help your body soak up the D better. So that's why this combination, you have 5 billion probiotic per one capsule, and one capsule is 5,000 IU. That's big. If you look at most vitamin D out there, it's 400 IU. That's the RDA to protect you from maybe rickets. That's RDA, and it's so old. That's like 40 years old, recommendation. The minimum you should take if your levels are at 70 to 100 is 5,000. If you're lower than that, you need to take more to get it to that level. Make sense? So if you haven't had a blood test, go grab one, get one done. Show me, I'll help you bring it up. Very easy to do. And a lot of you have brought it up a lot during this. We can bring it up very fast, but that's huge. Okay. Avoiding sugar. You talk about something that messes your immune system up almost immediately. Sugar does. Very, very big. If you feel like you're coming down with something, you're getting sick, stop sugar. Stop feeding the virus or feeding the bacteria. Be aware sugar is in foods you may not suspect, like things like even ketchup or your child's fruit drinks they're drinking, fruit juice. Probably has more sugar in it than the Coke. It's crazy stuff. You drink about a third of your sugar, so just watch out. That's why water is always nice, because there's no sugar in it. So this is a Nutri-Grain bar, just to show you, like, I don't eat sugar. Like it's hidden everywhere. So like the first ingredient up here is filling, so that's sugar, but it's not. It's fructose corn syrup again, more high fructose corn syrup, because they just couldn't give you one. They had to give you like 3 different forms of it, right? More fructose, sugar. At least there's some real sugar there. Maltodextrin, water, natural artificial flavors, modified cornstarch. So like the first 12 ingredients are all forms of sugar. You're like, where did I get all this sugar? The average American takes in 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. So think about this with a child. You have a child that eats one of these bars, they're poof, off the chart, and then they crash, and they go to school, and the teacher's like, well, they got a learning disability, or they're ADD. No, they're not. They're just jacked up on Mountain Dew and sugar. It's just that's what's going on. Okay? You got to take a step back and look at things. I'm telling you, if you have kids that have a weak immune system, that's the first thing we would recommend, other than the nerves, is get them off the sugar. Watch how much better watch how much healthier their immune system is going to be. They won't be getting sick near as much. You just got to, I know it's tough. It's tough with kids. Toxicity, we put a lot in our body that we don't know is harming us. Fluoride's one of the big things. Did you know that fluoride, this is from the National Cancer Institute. I think we should listen to this guy. Fluoride causes more human cancer deaths and causes it faster than any other chemical. Yet it's in your water. It's in your toothpaste. It's still, like, the people that make this, they still promote fluoride. Like, stop putting that in your body. It's not good for you. Mold, that can be in a lot of homes now. It's been raining. Check your house for mold, for mildew, for water damage. This stuff is sneaky to the immune system. Pesticides on your food. I mean, think about that. Spraying that. How would you like to be under that plane? It would cause a problem, but yet we're eating food that's been sprayed like that. That's causing a problem. It's causing a problem, right? Mercury and lead, like amalgam fillings that are in your mouth. Stuff. Lead's another big one as well. Can cause some major immune problems. So you want to detox, and when you detox, you want to be smart when you detox. You don't want to just, keep doing the stuff you're doing and then do a detox and think you're good. No, you're just you're not getting better that way. But a lot of people do that, and they retox. You've heard of that. They get sick again. They get sicker, right? So you want to stop the source. So if you're ever going to detox, first thing is stop the source of it first. That's the easy thing to do. Stop that. Then do a detox. And when you do a detox, you don't do just a one body part detox like the colon. You can be toxic to the cells of your body. So you want to have something that's more of a cellular type of detox to clean out your cells effectively. And that's one of the reasons why glutathione is so big. You kind of heard me talking about glutathione earlier, about how that cleans your cells out very effectively. Well, there's something called detox system that we have that's what it's designed to do. It gives your body the precursors so it can make its own glutathione, makes more of it. Because your body stops making a lot of it when you're 30 and on. So yes, that's a lot of people in this room. It's not making as much of. I love you guys. I'm in that category with you. I mean, it's okay. I'm in the boat with you guys. I am over 30. But it stops making as much. So you want to be getting stuff in your body that will help your body make more. You don't just put glutathione in your body. You got to put things that lead, like N-acetylcysteine L-glutamate. Your body will take that as a building block and make glutathione. It's kind of like with hormones. Like, you don't want to put just estrogen in your body. You want to be taking things like cholesterol. Different things, like cholesterol is a building block of a lot of your hormones. It comes from cholesterol. That's big, just so you know. You want the building blocks in your body. So you want to do that. Also, obviously, you want to get rid of the toxins in a good manner. You don't want to bloat. You don't want to feel awful on a detox. So what's really cool about this is 2 parts. The cell you do in the morning, very easy. Right when you wake up, empty stomach, take 2 cell detox. At night, you take 2 body detox, you go to bed. The body detox has the chelated carbon, which is it's a high form of charcoal, and it binds toxins and pulls them out of your body very safely. So in the morning, yes, you're going to go to the bathroom in the morning. It's not colonics where you're like, oh my God, I got to look for exits. It's not like that. It's not that. So every time I talk about detox, people look at me like, oh man, I've done one of those. You haven't done this one. This one's easy. This one's, you don't even know you're on it. And this is something that can be done every day. Doesn't have to, but it can be. I have a lot of patients that they stay on it because they love it. This is not like you're on it like 1 month or 2 and then that's it, because you can't stay on it. It just really hurts your body. So it's not like that. Okay. Something else, we talk about oxygen. Now, I'm reading a book, and I'll have more info at our Cancer Killer workshop here, or at our makeover here in October. So you cannot miss this, because that is like taking what you're learning here into the next level as Cancer Killers. We're gonna have protocols for people that are going through it, that have a family friend or member. You got to talk to your family that are dealing with cancer and bring them to this thing. But I'm reading this oxygen book. And it's blowing my mind just how huge and how inexpensive you can do things to oxygenate your body, and literally has such an effect on your immune system and cancer. I'm going to share all that at Cancer because I'm really excited about sharing all this because I'm almost done with this book. But there's other ways you can now. Breathing, people are like, well, I just breathe in deeper. Understand, you only convert 15% of your inhaled oxygen to your body. You're not taking all that out. That's not all getting to the cells. Only about 15%. So it's good to breathe. Don't get me wrong. Breathe and breathe deep. That's good. But there's ways to make sure you're getting that 15%. You're taking deeper breaths, and that's where the surge training workouts come in. Look, you gotta, if you're exercising and you're not out of breath, you're not doing it right. You want to be sucking down oxygen. You want to be, taking something called aerobic exercise. So think about looking at sprinters. How do they work out? They run. They do bursts. Like 100-meter sprinters. Look at their body types. They're just ripped muscle. They suck in, and they're out of breath after 100 meters. Then you look at, like watching the Olympics, the distance runners, right? You're looking at the distance runners. And they run, it's uncanny, like 120 miles a week. And so you look at their body types, very different than a sprinter, right? They do different pathways of breathing. You want to be more like the sprinter, get the immune system strong. What's really cool about doing triathlons is I used to think it was like you had to do like all this long stuff. It's really not that bad. There's a lot of surging in it. It's just not called surging. You do you do sprints in the pool. Let me tell you something. Swimming sprints, that's a good way to suck in some oxygen, man. You are out of breath and just worn out. But there's things you want to do that, because what it does, it helps that high intensity, short duration gets the oxygen into your body. And that does a lot of things. A, it helps your body soak in more oxygen, which is great for the immune system. But B, it actually helps with your body, and on a side note, burning fat, balancing hormones. Your body needs oxygen for all that. So how do you do it? And how do you do it in only 12 minutes a day? We have a program called T3, which if you've never done that, I always say try it out once. Come to a workshop. We do classes every Saturday morning before I adjust. Dr. Mitchell's awesome. She runs that. She will show you how to do this thing and try it out. You'll love it. It's short. It's sweet. And you're out of breath. You definitely feel like you worked. It's short. That's the good news. But you're going to work for that little bit of time, and that's why it's effective. So it's a casual workout. It's not where you're like talking to your friend, oh, how's your day today? And you got your you're on the treadmill, you're on the little recumbent bike, you open up the newspaper reading. That's not how you exercise. Just so you know, that's the people. Yeah, you see that a lot. You see a lot of people do that. It's not a social thing. It's you shouldn't be able to talk if you're doing it well, because you're breathing in air. But last thing, and something that people really don't know, is the pathway. So your pathways, so things like your allergies, lymph nodes that are in your neck, your sinuses, your spleen, your digestive systems, these organs that deal with your immunity, they're run by one thing. They're run by your brain. Your brain, literally, to talk to your immune system or the different organs that deal with it, it has to send signals down your spinal cord, out through nerves to. That's the only way that your body works, not just with your immune system, but with your heart, or with you breathing air, with you going to the bathroom. That's the only way your body works. It has to communicate with your body. And so we all know that if I have nerves here to your, let's say they go to right here, they go to your arteries, they give your brain blood flow, and I just start cutting the nerves in half that go to your arteries, what happens to your blood flow? You stop getting blood flow. And guess what? You're not going to be around much if that's happening. So we all know you cut the nerve, whatever that nerve goes to is going to die. But what we don't understand is that's one of the reasons we have all these bones. You got a skull that protects your brain so you don't cut it and it doesn't get damaged. You got these 24 bones that protect your spinal cord and nerves so it's not damaged. When it's in the right spot, things are very well. Your body heals really good. Life's really good. Your immune system is very strong. But especially in the neck, if you've damaged your spine, if you go from having a normal curve in your neck to having no curve, or it gets crushed, that's a big problem. That's called subluxation. And what that does, that'll create a lot of havoc in the body. If I'm squeezing nerves that go to your heart, is it going to work really good? No, and the longer I keep squeezing nerves to it, the worse it gets, right? It doesn't get better, it just keeps getting worse. But that's a silent problem. I love the research that, because I always show different research on the immune system, or not the immune system, but the nervous system and what it does, because you guys need to hear this so much. You do. A lot of you can probably, like, man, I remember that one, I love that, I get those. This one's really awesome, because this was on people with HIV. This was back in 1990, by the way. Research on HIV-positive patients revealed that those who received chiropractic care, they showed a 48% increase in natural killer cells. That's what that is. Immune system white blood cells. That's why your white blood cell, we always say it's going to jump up. It's going to increase after you get adjusted. That's why. So it's compared to those that did not receive chiropractic care. So the next time that you don't feel really great, or you're having sniffles or you're coughing, and you call my office, you're like, man, I can't make that appointment today. Addie and Yami will tell you what? Yeah, see, I love this. You've already been programmed. I love that. But why? Because they don't even have to ask me, because they know what I'm going to say. I'm like, get them in here. Let's adjust them. Because I know, and again, the research tells us, you get adjusted, your immune system has a burst for about 6 hours, sometimes 12, but mostly 6 hours right after you get adjusted. Your body is able to recover faster. Right? How many of you, and you guys can share this if you want or not, but you've been adjusted, you've had a day where you didn't feel good. You came in, you got adjusted, and you know what? Your fever broke that night, or your little kids, their fever broke, or you got better the next day. You were not showing as many symptoms. Well, why is that? You recovered faster because your body was able, you removed interference, and the body's able to work better. And so that's one of the reasons why, you get adjusted. It's huge, right? Your nerve fibers, they go to every organ of the immune system. This is from Rochester School of Medicine, this MD. And this guy, again, knows his stuff, neurobiology and anatomy. I mean, that guy's got a lot of titles after his name. He found that if you took the nerves away from the spleen or lymph nodes, you'll stop your immune system in its tracks. I mean, you literally will stop it if you do that, right? So all the nerves go there. How do you damage it? They get out of place. Those bones that surround the spinal cord, again, for protection. Well, when everything's surrounded and protected, it fires normal, but if you have bones out of place, they can nerves. Now, it doesn't just happen, again, what that's showing is this. It's showing it like here, nerves getting crushed, but you can lose the curve in your neck. Your spine can go sideways. Hopefully I'm not changing slides when I do this, but it can do this stuff. I mean, nerves get compressed, and everybody thinks you feel a lot of pain when that happens. That's not true. You do sometimes, but usually after been there for a long time, that's when pain is one of the last things that shows up. But understand, your spinal cord doesn't sense pain. I mean, at all. Your nerves, only about 6% of these guys have pain fibers, so the chances in the beginning that you feel this are really low. Most of the time, good people, they don't feel any pain, but they're wondering why all of a sudden they're getting allergies, they're getting sinuses all the time, or they're wondering why I'm starting to get headaches. Oh, I'm getting more headaches. I'm getting more, or you know, my hormones are just kind of weird right now, or I'm fatigued, I can't sleep, what's going on? My digestive system is shutting down, like I'm having to take stuff to go to the bathroom. Why is this happening? You might not have pain, but if you had to check your nerves and you saw that there was pressure on them, it would make sense. And that's huge. So if you're a guest, you have a poster here in your red little folder, and it has the spine. It has all the nerves where they go, and these are all issues that your body will give you these warning signs that it's not working well, that you need to check your nerves. Your body's smart, but we only think nerves deal with pain, and that's not true. This is how you correct. See, the cool thing about this is not just detecting it, but actually doing something about it. This is a person who has lost the curve in their neck. So this yellow line is where they should be. This person has lost half the curve in their neck, so their spinal cord is getting compressed and stretched. They got bones that are growing together. Bad stuff. This person obviously is not healing really good. No neck pain, but with Bill, what he was on Synthroid for years, and he was taking 2 different blood pressure medications. Well, guess where those nerves go? Thyroid gland and arteries. They go to the blood flow. They're controlling blood flow. And so what we did with him, we didn't treat his blood pressure. We weren't like treating his thyroid gland. We started correcting his spine. We started getting the pressure off his spinal cord. So we went from like a stretched out spinal cord. We started letting the pressure off, and his body started to do what? Time. Started to heal and work. Didn't happen in one adjustment. God, I wish it was that easy. We've seen stuff. We've seen some amazing, God miracle stuff, with people. Yes, I've seen it, but it's rare. It's 10%. 90% it takes time. You got to give your body a chance to heal, right? But with him, full restoration of his curve, and you can see the degeneration there. It's stopped it. It's really cool. At this point, he was only taking one blood pressure medication. He cut his Synthroid in half, but we were able to off all his blood pressure meds and I think it was maybe 10. It wasn't much on his Synthroid medication. Yeah, you got to reduce it a lot just because his numbers were getting better. And again, it's cool. If you catch this stuff in time, you can start bringing it back, and we have rehab and stuff to do that with. But the reality is you got to recognize the warning signs. So if you are a guest, you need to understand something. There's warning signs you might not be paying attention to, but you might think about it now. These are warning signs. So something like having headaches. If you're having headaches and it's somewhat frequent, if you're having them, monthly, weekly, or even daily, a lot of people have them daily. That's your body going, there's a big problem here. You're not getting blood flow to your brain. That's not an oddity. There's nerves in your neck. That's where we would check somebody, would be the neck, because we know there's going to be something going on messing that system up in the neck. Somebody that's having menstrual issues, or like, my wife used to have these really bad cramps, so endometriosis, like painful side. And what we found out with her was that her spine from behind her spine, she had a bend in it. Her pelvis was twisted, and obviously she had a lot of damage in her neck from car wrecks. But we saw this stuff going on. Well, all these nerves in the lower back, they go to reproductive organs for men and women, different ones. But they go to that stuff. They go to your legs. They go to your digestive system. With me, my spine looks not now, but it did. I had 14 degrees of bend in my back this way, so I had a lot of pressure on my digestive nerves. I had a horrible immune system. I had horrible digestion. I didn't know that there was a link between both, because I had 4 concussions in sports, and I've had just taken a beating in sports. It's the best way I can describe it. I got beat up a lot in sports, but I didn't know what that did to my spine, right? I didn't feel much pain, but I had a lot of health issues for the longest time growing up. If you're dealing with things like blood pressure, we would check again. The nerves in the neck control blood flow. Allergies and asthma. This was so big with me. I can tell you that, my asthma has gotten so much better. It has been 2002 since I've been on any asthma medication or a drug for that or a breathing treatment. And back then I couldn't run without really wheezing and I could go into an asthma attack. And anybody's had that, it's scary stuff. But now I can do endurance stuff that I never thought I could do years ago. So I'm actually better health now than I was, when I was in undergrad. But that didn't happen overnight. But that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, is change my life on that. If you're not sleeping, got numbness, if you have numbness and tingling going down a body part, that's long-term nerve damage. Just so you know, that's been there a while. It's spreading down like a disease. Neck pain. If you've had neck pain longer than 6 weeks, it ain't a muscle problem anymore. It's a nerve thing. You got to know that. Or back pain, same thing. Fatigue, reflux. You're getting chronic. You have kids getting chronic ear infections. There is an issue here in the top of the neck that's not getting addressed. And then so many kids have digestive issues. You're setting yourself up for a weak immune system, and I can tell you this because I lived through this. It's scary stuff. So just know your body gives you warning signs, and if you're circling warning signs, if you're a guest, you have this health survey. Fill it out. If you're circling these warning signs, that's your body saying you need to have your nerves checked. Because if you don't, you can do a couple things. You can do nothing about it, and guess what? Guess what always happens to people that just ignore it? Do they get better? We all know they don't, so they don't. You can ignore it. We know that doesn't. You can go to your doctor and then let them know. And they tell you that it's all messed up. Great, you already know that. And then they're going to give you what? For how long? For the rest of your life. So it does nothing to get you well. That's awesome. Thank you. Right? It might treat a symptom. Or you can actually start building your health from the inside out and getting to the cause. That's what we want to do for you. If you are a guest, we did something really cool last week. Since you know about this, we had our big school supply drive. We still are. We were donating school supplies to Safe Haven, so it's the victims of domestic violence. It's the stuff they need for school, much less Christmas or clothes. So we were donating all these school supplies for people that came in. And so I'm going to extend that this week for you that are guests. If you want to come in and have yourself checked properly, if you bring in $25 in school supplies to donate to Safe Haven, your exam, and if we have to do x-rays, that's all going to be complimentary. That's just for the donation. So we're extending that, but that has to be done this week because we're going to be turning all the stuff in this week. So what you would do in just a second, you would see Dr. Mitchell in the back. Bring your health assessment to her. Make sure it's printed out clearly on the top with your name and your best contact number and whatever you want, morning or evening appointment. She'll find a time this week that works for you. She'll get you set up real easy. She'll give you paperwork that out to in advance. That saves you 30 minutes of filling it out in my office, just so you know it's a big helpful thing. But see her, she'll get that set up. Our office, we have a 3-day process. I'm very open with how our office works. We have a 3-day process with all of our new patients coming in. We do all of our testing the first day. We need to see what's going on. There might not be much, but if there is, we'll x-ray you that day to see what's going on. How can we help? We'll bring you back to adjust you to see how your body responds to that, and then we'll go over your x-rays with you and your spouse. If it's nerve damage, if you're married, we're going to bring your spouse with you. It's serious stuff. We'll show you how to correct it. And if you want to be a patient, you can. You'll be part of our family. We'll help you. If you don't want to be a patient, that's your choice. So there's no pressure. As a matter of fact, you'll time with us in the next couple of days. You probably want to. It's okay, but we're here to help you and just help you get well. So see Dr. Mitchell before you leave. Don't miss out, because again, another day of reflux, another day of headaches. It's just, do you still want to keep experiencing that? That's a big deal. 3 big events we got coming up, so you want to take a picture or write these down. Our Health Fest. That's September 10th. That is a Saturday morning. It's from 8 to 10. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff for all of you guys, patients. You're going to love this day. We do a bunch of raffles in our office. It's kind of like an appreciation day. We're going to be doing a lot of raffling, a lot of prize giveaways, a lot of resource giveaways. But also we're going to be getting, a lot of vendors to come into our office. We're talking about like water filtration, talking about like any lab test now. They'll be doing vitamin D testing, blood testing at a discounted rate for everybody that comes in that day. We'll be having, chair massages. We'll be having a lot of fun stuff for you. So make sure it's always a lot of fun. Come in there. I adjust for the 2 hours as well. Don't miss that. That is an awesome event for you guys. The 14th, we have an outreach day. Again, that's big. Family, friends that are coming in that day. The exams complement. X-rays need to be taken. They just cover the cost of x-rays, but that's the 14th. And then the biggest event of the entire year, not kidding, is Cancer Killers. That is October the 8th. This is the second Saturday in October. We're going to be going over the first time ever. We're going to have 3 different protocols that you can actually start doing right when you get done with this thing to help. And if you have somebody that's going through cancer or they're going through chemo and radiation, you got to drag them. So seriously, you might have to really drag them to this event, because we're going to show, even though they might be going through that, there's a ton they can do to handle that better and still and survive the treatment, because there's so many people that don't make it because the treatment's killing them, not just the cancer. So we want to show you how to help those people in need. And it's just for anybody. I just can't stress this one enough. Don't miss Cancer Killers. It's awesome. It's the only time we do something in downtown Fort Worth, so it's not actually going to be here. It's going to be at the Norris Conference Center in downtown Fort Worth. Awesome place. Live, already been to it. But again, October 8th, that's our next huge workshop. It's going to be awesome. We also, anytime we do a workshop here, we do bundles. We have 2 today. We have an advanced bundle. Essentially, talked about greens, protein, vitamin D, and then also the detox system. And then we have a core bundle, which is except for the detox. You can kind of pick which one you want to do, but if you do them today, you save quite a bit. Everything's on sale on workshops. That's what we do. Just see the girls in the back. They can help you with that. If you don't have my email address, if you're a guest and you email, it's gatewaydc@gmail.com. You can, like I said, you're part of our family. Questions, I know you probably have some. Ask me questions. That's why we're here for. We don't mind helping you out on that. If you're a patient and you don't have my email address, it's gatewaydc@gmail.com. So email me. Again, love you guys. Email me. Let us help you if there's a concern you have or somebody that you're wanting to get help. Doesn't matter where they live. We'll try to find doctors by them that do what we do. But just that's what we do. So love you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And do not miss Cancer Killers. That's going to be awesome. So God bless y'all.